Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Rubenstein, Editor-in-Chief of IT Ops Times, and I'd like to welcome you to today's program, Breakthroughs and Best Practices in Disaster Recovery. Before we get started, I have a couple of quick housekeeping announcements. First, the session will be followed today by a live Q&A. To ask a question, just navigate to the Questions tab in your control panel, type in the question, hit Submit, and we'll get to as many as time will allow. Secondly, today's recording is being recorded and will be available tomorrow on the sdtimes.com and itops.com websites and in an email link to all of our registrants. So as we've been reporting, disaster recovery should be foremost in the minds of IT organizations today. Between changing weather patterns and malicious attacks knocking systems offline, the ability to restore service quickly is paramount. If you can't, the costs can be devastating. Today's webinar will focus specifically on leveraging AWS for disaster recovery of the VMware cloud. Joining me today is Sazala Reddy. Sazala is co-founder and CTO at Datrium, and he has an extensive background in data systems. He also holds master's degrees in computer science and nuclear engineering. So now here's Sazala Reddy. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for the introduction, Dave. Hello, folks. My name is Sazala, and clearly everybody's here because they care about improving their DR strategy. And everybody's afraid of DR. I've never heard of a customer who has said, "I have an awesome DR strategy and it all works great." In fact, I had a customer who once told me that he hopes there is no disaster, but if there is one, he hopes to die in it because he doesn't want to deal with it. I thought that was funny, but a little sad as well. So today, what I'm going to do is walk you through a couple of things. One is kind of give you the logic of what Failproof DR, and I'm going to kind of deconstruct the problems, why DR doesn't work for a lot of people, and what are the issues and challenges. And following that, I will do a live DR demo with our product. So the reason why DR has been challenging for everybody is because you have to buy so many different products and make it all work together, not only on one side, but also on the second side. And then finally, when your systems are down, the business is down, everybody's watching you, you're trying to get things up, and you finally get it up, and then there is a failback procedure now you have to kind of follow as well. So what we are trying to do at Datrium is change that. And we want to provide you a fail-proof DR strategy for your business. And we want to give you the confidence that you can push the button when you have a disaster event and it'll work for you. And when you push a button, it'll all come back to you. It is that simple. So thanks for, again, being on this webinar with us. So sit back and imagine a future where everything is super easy and your DR strategy works for you. And I'll deconstruct the issues, and I'll walk you through how we do it and how it's actually going to change businesses in terms of disaster recovery strategy. So as part of deconstruction, let's just walk through a few steps most businesses, IT folks do as part of the disaster recovery strategy. So the first thing we all do is figure out a way to set up runbooks. What that means is you have to set up a plan, procedures for all the applications and all the data you want to consider as important, and being able to fail over that in a second site. So this requires documentation. This requires figuring out what the applications you have to do, kind of consider. And the reason it's complex is right there's some complexity in figuring out what you want to do, but you have to do that anyway, to some degree. But the complexity comes in if those applications change over time. Do you have to go back and figure out and replan and change all your runbook automation stuff. So that's what makes it really complex to actually just do the planning itself. The second thing then you have to do once you make a plan is, hey, I have to do fire drills once in a while because I need to make sure that my DR actually is going to work for me. The challenge with fire drill is that it's very time consuming. You have to really figure out of doing this failover event kind of simulation without disturbing your existing primary applications and not letting your systems go down during this fire drill. So it tends to be painful. It tends to be it's very time consuming, and eventually you're kind of hoping it doesn't disturb anything else. And then lastly, when there is actually a disaster, everybody's in panic mode. The business is down, developers are down, maybe you lost some data perhaps, and everybody is now watching you because you're in charge of bringing everything up. And in that immense pressure, you have to make everything come up, and you hope that it's all going to work for you. And you hope that your fire drills experiments actually went well, and it's really going to work for you now as opposed to like 2 months ago. So those are the three main steps people take, and it's all very complex and painful. The question is, why is this DR so complex and painful? If you look at any data center today, you end up having to buy different products. So you have to buy, your servers for running your VMware environment, and you have to buy a storage SAN product for your primary storage, and then you buy some backup systems like Data Domain, and then you have to buy some software to actually do the backups like Commvault, and you have to buy some DR orchestration products. So you end up with basically 5 different products on your data center to manage your data. The same data is managed by 5 different products, and then you replicate the same thing on your disaster recovery side, and the same 5 products exist there. So you're hoping when you actually have a disaster, somehow you stitched all this together nicely, that is all of these things are going to work for you when you actually have that problem. And then imagine also you have to fail back, remember, when you actually have fixed your data center. So all of these different boxes and UI consoles, you have to learn, practice, and make it all work together. It's Murphy's Law coming together. So this is the fundamental reason why DR has always been fragile, and it's like not on a very exciting strategy for a lot of customers. So you can't really do fail-proof DR. If you want to really get that confidence in your DR, you can't really do that fail-proof DR with 5 different silo products. Like a simple use case, like Cloud DR, becomes too hard. And let me explain that a little bit. So the fundamental theory is that if you have data, it needs 5 different things. It needs 5 different functions. You need primary storage, you need backup, you need some sort of DR orchestration, and you need a way to move your data from one place to the other, and you need security and encryption. So these are the fundamental aspects of what data wants. And you end up having to buy 5 different products, and they're all different. They all don't talk to each other that well. They're all different products from each other. So now imagine if you use your backup product to do a backup to some other place. Imagine the cloud. Cloud is now here. You want to leverage the cloud. It provides the promise of you to eliminate your second data center. So you're thinking about doing Cloud DR. The challenge is if you use your backup vendor, you're going to have your backups in the cloud. But when you actually have to bring up your workloads in a disaster, what about all the other things you need, all the other 4 things you need? You need primary storage, you need orchestration software. They don't come with you when you go to the other place. So that's the challenge, is that these things don't go together wherever you want to go. And the cloud is no different, by the way. If you look at Amazon, they offer 5 different services for all of these different things. They have for EBS for primary, S3 for backup. They have different products. So no matter where you go, you're ending up with the same problem with these 5 different products. So what we have done as a company, Datrium, is that we built this Automatrix platform. It's built from ground up. We have converged the 5 data functions you need for your data into one single platform. The idea is that it provides you that simple experience. It's 5 functions in one platform. It's future-proof. What we mean by that is that if you move your data to wherever you go, wherever the data wants to go, on-prem or the cloud, all these functions come with it. You have to do no additional work to make it all work together. It's fully automated, all these functions, they work together. It reduces the complexity in how you have to deal with these interactions, all these different products you have. So that's the basic platform we have. And what we have done is that our software, it has 3 components to it, and we call it the Automatrix platform. You can run our software on your on-prem. We call it the DVX. And also, we have the same software running in the cloud. We call it Cloud DVX in Amazon. And then we have this control ship, which is the 3rd element, which provides you that disaster recovery orchestration. Now, I'll walk you through how these 3 pieces fit together. So it kind of gives you a sense about what you really need to think about when you actually have to consider using a proper disaster recovery as a service. So step one is how do you run, first step one is you have to run your applications on-prem, and that's what we provide with our DVX. And then step two is I'll walk you through how we do DR using leveraging VMware Cloud on AWS. You can also do prem to prem as well with our products, but today I'm going to focus on how we can leverage the cloud as a way of doing it. I meet a lot of customers now who have a cloud first strategy, and they don't want to maintain the second site, pay the cooling, the colo costs, and the manpower needed to do all this stuff. So they're kind of all considering leveraging the cloud for DR. It's the most easiest use case to think about, and we are providing that as well. So step one, let's walk you through how to run applications first. That's the step one. It kind of is part of the platform. Is that what we have is a DVX, and this is what this picture is showing you. It's a new category called DHCI, disaggregated HCI. IDC has coined this new word. It's the combination of what a best of SAN and best of hyperconverge. So we took both ideas. SAN has some good ideas. It's been a reliable product for the last 30 years. Every business has it. Hyperconvergence is new, but it has some really good stuff in the sense that it is very VM centric and a lot of properties like that. So we kind of took the best of both ideas and put it together for simplicity and for scale. So let me walk you through what this architecture is a little bit before we move on to the DR part of it. So our software runs on your compute servers if you have VMware. It's a web server, it's a web driver, it's very easy to install, it just runs there. And our software runs on any server you have. It could be existing servers, Cisco, Dell, Lenovo, whatever you have, that's fine. And our software runs on these servers. It provides a global NFS data store, and it's one global namespace. So our software, right there at the host level, we will do deduplication and also encryption. So you get both these benefits. And you're once encrypted there, the data, it is never again to be seen in clear text. It's a very unique way of doing it, especially with these days of threat of cybercrime. It really provides you that extra level of safety in terms of the encryption part of it. It's not just sufficient to do at rest anymore. What about your network, right? So we provide that end-to-end encryption security. And all the reads of the data, we use a little bit of the local flash on each of the servers. All the reads come locally. So you get this ultra low latency for your applications. It's a big benefit. Your end users will notice it. And it's very prescriptive. Each server brings about 100,000 IOPS into the game. So if you have 100 hosts, it'll be 10 million IOPS. And at the bottom layer, we have what we call the data nodes. It provides you capacity, a capacity tier. And as you add more data nodes, you get more capacity. As you add more compute nodes, you get more performance. So it's a very, very linear way of scaling those two angles. It's all VM centric. There's no LUNs to configure. And also, in addition to high performance, we also have built-in backup. And it's not just snapshot and replication. We actually have built what a backup is supposed to be. We built a catalog, it's a searchable database. You can find things. We can do millions of snapshots. And the advantage of having the built-in backup is that the recovery is instantaneous. You push a button, you can recover thousands of VMs right away, especially if you have ransomware attack or whatever, you can just recover instantaneously. So that's a basic platform. And now step two, once you have that, let me show you step two is basically how do you consider now, you have primary storage, you have built-in backup, what about my disaster recovery? I'll walk you through that as well. So now let's start with your production site. You have a DVX on your production site. And we allow you to then have local backups and also be able to then replicate the data to our cloud DVX, which is also provides backup services and for long-term archiving as well. It's globally deduped. It's deduped on S3. It's very, very cost efficient. So for 51 weeks in a year, it's very, very cost efficient to store your data on the cloud DVX. It's a SaaS service. You have to do nothing. It's a way of just storing your data offsite with long retention copies. And then if you have a disaster, okay, what do you do now? So we have this control shift, our DR orchestration software. It runs in the cloud of Amazon as well. You set up runbook automation before the disaster strikes. And because we own the primary backup and DR, all pieces of it, we are in a unique position to actually do continuous compliance checks. What that means is that part of the problem with DR is that you don't have confidence it's going to work for you because you made some plans before. How do you know the plan is going to work for you when you actually have the disaster? So what we are doing is, because we are uniquely combined primary, backup, and DR, we do continuous compliance checks all the time that will tell you if something is going to go wrong for you in your disaster and tell you upfront that, hey, this is a problem, you should go fix it right now. So that's kind of the power of the platform, that it can tell you beforehand there's a problem and you can go fix it. And everything is audited. I mean, it's auditable. It's all we have audit reports built in. You can look at them anytime you want to. And ultimately, once you set up the runbook automation, the next thing you can do is, okay, you have a disaster, you push a button to do failover, which I'll demonstrate soon after this. And we will launch VMware Cloud servers on demand. The advantage is that you only pay for VMware servers, compute services on demand when you actually use it. So for that 1 week, when you actually have the disaster, you're paying for those services. We bring up your workloads, mass restart, thousands of VMs, you can bring it up. And the advantage of that is, of using VMware as well, is both on-prem and cloud, you get the consistent experience. You can't tell the difference. It's that seamless. And now you run for a week, you're happy there, like, hey, things are, and then you fixed your data center now, it's back. So you push a button to say, hey, I want to fail back now. It's one-click fail back. We will bring your data back to your on-prem on the background, replicate it back. It's all incremental forever, deduped over the wire. It's super cost efficient in terms of egress costs. And we only bring back what's changed. So in a week, only a little bit has changed. So we bring only that data back to your cloud DVX, to your production site. And then we shut down automatically the VMware Cloud SDDC servers, which kind of then brings the cost down. So you only pay for the expensive parts when you actually have a disaster. Otherwise, you're just using the backups in the cloud as a backup service. So that's the high-level overview of our DRaaS offering. It's a backup and DR services in the cloud and leveraging VMware Cloud for compute resources. It's fully automated. There's nothing for you to actually configure and do. You can't tell the difference between the prem and cloud. It is that seamless. There's no VM conversions. You're not doing any of that stuff. So you get this consistent experience, and there's less to learn. The only way you can tell, by the way, there is this logo change, color change, when you go from prem to the cloud. That's the only way you can tell the difference. And not only can you recover like the latest from a disaster, like latest copy, but as you know, ransomware is here. You have to consider, how do I go back in time? So with our backup policies we have, you can save data up to like 7 years, and with fine-grained VM level snapshots and backups, that you can go back and pick any point in time you want to and go back in time, or you can recover a single file if that's what you want to do. And everything is stored cost efficiently and dedupe on an Amazon S3. And we made it simple that it's a single point of billing and support. Like we'll take care of all the Amazon accounts, all the VMware accounts, VMware Cloud accounts, and all the backup services and everything else. All you have to do is create your plan and decide what applications want to be part of this DR strategy. And then you have to purchase the right plan from us. So those are the two things you have to do. Everything else is completely taken care from us. So just a high level, I want to just summarize the benefits of DRaaS. What we're offering is that we are the first and only software-defined DRaaS with VMware Cloud on AWS. So the combination of primary, backup, and DR is really what changes the game. Otherwise, you're still trying to make it all cobbled together. You cannot really have a good DR strategy if you're still working with 5 different products. That's the fundamental observation we have. And if you want to go into the leverage the cloud for your DR strategy, you have to consider a product which can do uniquely kind of combine these different silos into a unified way of doing it. Otherwise, the silos don't come with you wherever you go. They're going to be holding you back from your DR strategy. So let me just summarize the benefits of our DRaaS offering. So firstly, we reduce cost. Right now, who wants to really pay a lot of money for DR? I mean, it's important for every business, but it's also not a line item. You can just say, go to the CIO and say, I want this budget. It's going to be always challenging. So what we're offering is you can actually shut down your second data center, you can reduce costs with having backups in S3, and only pay for VMware Cloud servers when you actually have a disaster. It's pretty transformational economics. Reduce cost, and you want to move fast. You don't want to learn lots of new stuff. You can actually learn our UI in 30 minutes because it's one platform, one UI, it's fully automated. It makes a lot of steps. You don't have to learn and actually to practice DR. And it's a uniform experience. There's a lot of vendors offering cloud DR, but they're converting your VMs into Amazon VMs. That is a one-way path. It's a migration, not a DR, because conversion into Amazon takes 2 days to rehydrate and everything else. So that's, to me, it's a one-way migration path. It's not a two-way disaster recovery plan. And finally, you really want it to work well. We want it to be fail-proof. That's what we really focused on, is how do we make it fail-proof? How do we make it reliable? How do we make customers feel that they have confidence in their DR plan for the first time? It's fully audit ready, continuous compliance checks, because we are uniquely combining primary, backup, and DR into one platform. And you can recover ransomware every day as you see the news. We provide you that. Ransomware, you can try to detect it and try to prevent it, but it's sometimes not possible. Ultimately, you have to prepare for the situation where you have to recover from it, and that's kind of what we are really good at. So that's a high-level summary of the benefits. And as a background, who are we? We are 5 founders. I see the pictures there. I'm the middle fellow, the handsome-looking person. I'm the CTO. I used to be the CTO of a data domain, which kind of invented dedupe and changed how backup works. So we are trying to change how DR works fundamentally. Because backup is good, but it's very taxing. It's very low RPO, and RPOs are not very good. Ultimately, it's about recovery. People don't do backup for the fun of it. People do backup because they want to recover. So we have really solved the recovery problem. So this is our team, and we have experts in enterprise products. We build solid products. All of these are very enterprise products backgrounds we come from. As a summary, our platform is basically these 3 components: the DVX on-prem, the cloud DVX, and the control shift, which is the DR orchestration software. You can run your apps at the highest performance. Our performance is one of the fastest on the planet. So you get this extreme high performance at a much lower cost, and you're able to do DRaaS for the first time in the cloud without having to think and maintain all the different products. So I'll give you some couple of examples of what customers do with Datrium. So here's a large telco as an example. The customer had Hyperflex, Hitachi, Veeam, and Warmetric, and we went in and replaced all of them because they wanted to simplify and build an internal cloud. So they get 50% faster performance and less footprint because they're converging all of these functions into one product, and much lower cost. So it's very simple to operate as well. The second customer example is a government agency. They wanted to leverage all these different products because they wanted to have a data center to run their VMware applications, but they also wanted to be able to use the cloud for DR because they didn't want to maintain a second data center. So they were considering using all these different products. So we replaced all of them with our single platform that they can do one-click failover and one-click failback. Just the compliance we do, the auditing, is sufficient to pay for their entire product by itself. So that's the level of confidence they have with the Datrium product. The third example is a hospital, and they had all the different products for doing primary backup, moving data across, and DR orchestration. It was very complicated. So they had a flooding, and they took 2 days to recover from the data center. So they kind of gave up on that whole DR being easy to use. So they went with Datrium, and now they get much higher performance from our platform. Their RTOs are like 100x better in some sense, and they have much lower cost. And now the recovery times, if they have some problem, is like in minutes, not hours or days. So those are 3 examples. We have many such examples on our website, case studies. So let's see if there are any questions before I I'll probably jump into the demo. I'll do a live demo as well right now.
Yeah, there was one quick question, and that was somebody who asked about Azure and Hyper-V. I know we talked about AWS, but what are the plans, if any, to support those platforms as well?
Yeah, so we are looking at Azure pretty strongly. We are considering it'll maybe the first half of next year is what we are considering that.
Okay, very good. So you want to launch into the demo?
Yes, I will launch into the demo. So let me log in. Dave, you can see my screen, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome. So this is our global dashboard of our product. It runs in the cloud. So it's showing you a global topology view of all the systems you have. And in this case, it's showing you have 4 systems. And these are the 4 systems: HQ2, DR site, HQ. These are all on-prem sites. And then there is a cloud DVX, which is our cloud Amazon offering as well. So you can have multiple sites. You can have replicate. So these arrows point to the replication topology. You're replicating back and forth. And in this case, replicating one way. So what I'm going to do is show you first just the UI of how the DVX UI looks like. And then I'll jump into doing a failover between one side to the other and show you how easy it is to operate that. So first, let me show you the UI for one of the DVXs. So this is the UI for our DVX. This is running currently in a VM. It's a little slow. It's not running on the real hardware. So if something is not, it's a little slow, just bear with me. This is our dashboard. It's also a VCenter plugin. You don't have to use our UI. It runs directly in VCenter as a plugin. You never have to leave your VCenter console to manage our system. It shows up as an NFS data store. And the idea is that we have chosen the kind of the framework so that it looks and operates just like VCenter does. So there are 4 panels in the main dashboard. The first panel is showing you the virtual machines view. We are VM centric. We know what VMs are 100%. And giving you a high level view of how many VMs you have in the system, how many are active, what's the performance characteristics looking like in the past, 5 minutes. It's kind of a timeline series. And the next thing we're going to be showing you here on the top right is the backup policies. Here it says 96% of the VMs are in some backup policies, and 4% are not protected. So so some degree, just showing you a high-level view. And there are about 1,000 snapshots for VMs. You can do up to 1 million. And also, it's showing you that you're replicating data to do different sites, including to the cloud. And at the bottom left, they're just showing you high-level capacity and dedupe and everything, all the savings you get. And we have on the right-hand side, which this green shield is showing you that our encryption is turned on end-to-end. It is done directly on the host without losing dedupe and compression, so that you get this end-to-end blanket encryption, which is kind of makes everything more secure fundamentally. Now, I will show you one more piece of the backup part of it, and before I go into the DR. So as part of the backup policies, you can choose to have different backup policies like SLAs. So I'll pick this one and kind of look at it. So we call this nightly backup. You can call it whatever, gold, silver. And then you can choose what VMs do you want here. You can select individual VMs if you wanted to, right? Or you can just choose the naming pattern match. In this case, it says star. If there are 1,000 VMs in your environment, all of those will be automatically picked up. You don't have to come in and change policies. Or you can just do something like, hey, all my SQL applications belong in my gold, and you can do that as well. Most people have some naming conventions. It kind of makes it easy. The next thing you do is come here and set up your schedule. How often do you want it? You can do it every 5 minutes, every 10-minute RPOs. You can do as low as as many as you want, and you can keep adding new schedules, as many as you want. And you can choose to replicate the data to multiple sites, the cloud, to another site. And you can keep the data as long as you want, for like 4 years, 7 years, locally, remotely. So those are the options you have. So once you set up the policies, it automatically kick in and do all these backups automatically without having any performance impact. There's no hydration. There is no copying of data anywhere else. It's all automatically done inside the system. Then, so given that, so you set up your backup policies, you're replicating data. Now you want to think of DR strategy. So now let me show you the DR plans how you do it. So you can set up lots of DR plans if you want to. I'll pick one, which I made earlier, and show you that. I'll show you the DR plan between one side to the other. So you can choose, so this is a wizard. It walks you through the various things you have to do as part of the planning. We try to make it as easy as possible. So there are multiple different options. You can either choose to do from failover from site to site, or you can do it from site to the cloud and with Amazon, like the one I showed you with the draft service. So for today, I'm going to just show you the site to site. It will look similar. You can't tell the difference between prem to prem and prem to cloud. It's that seamless. And then you pick, okay, what site to site you want to pick. HQ to HQ2 is what I picked. And what backup policies do you want to be part of this DR planning? And by the way, if you add more VMs into your backup policies, it automatically gets part of this DR plan as well. That's kind of what makes it really simple to operate. And then you do the standard mappings you have to do, like, hey, my data store 1 goes to data store 1 there. My VCenter from here to there, what's the different mappings? The VCenter folders, what compute resources I'm going to use on the other side, and the network topology. And if you want to change IP addresses, you can change that as well. And you can also run custom scripts if you want to. Sometimes people, they bring up DNS first and they run a custom script to set up something else. So you can do that, all those things as well. And finally, you come here to the recovery steps. You can choose, hey, I wanna bring up my infrastructure first, my database first, and second, and then applications third. You can also put in between steps like pause, and if you wanna just wait for user input, all those things you can do. And finally, you choose how you want alerting to be done. So automatically, because we know all the pieces, we know the vCenter on both sides, we know the primary backup and DR on all sides, we can do compliance checks. So we will automatically send you compliance warnings and reports if something is not going to work for you. So that's what you do this one time, this plan, and that's it. So now the plan is all ready, so we can go and actually do a failover and see how it works. So this continuous compliance checks is kind of showing you that we run the continuous compliance checks every 30 minutes, and that's what makes it kind of give you that fail-proof confidence. I'll show you that in a minute, what it does. So here's all the compliance checks we do. There are like about 17 checks so far. We're adding more every day so that there is more guidance and something is going wrong, or like a pre-warning that something is going to go wrong. We check everything end to end, and you can produce a PDF report and mail it to yourself or to your colleagues. So before I do a failover, I'm going to log into vCenter on the other side so that I can show you what's happening on the other side. So I'll bring up the taskbar and I'll bring up the VMs on this side and I'll show you what's happening here. So I'm going to do a test plan. You can have two options. You can do either failover or you can do testing. If you want to do a test bubble and you want to just run a fire drill, if you want to, you can just do a fire drill. So in this case, I'm showing you a fire drill. It'll make a test bubble, and you can run everything in your other side, and you can bring it all down if you want to. So when you choose, the first thing you can choose is, hey, I want to recover from my latest backups, or I can go back in time. So if you have a ransomware attack, you can say, you know what, this is not very good. I want to go back, 6 months, 1 month, or whatever you want to go back to, or 2 days. You can pick the one you care about and identify that. And once you do that, then you decide whether you want to stop on errors or don't stop, just continue. And it's showing you a preview of the steps that's going to happen when you actually do the recovery steps. And then finally, there's a confirmation that we actually want to do this. So here is now execute in the bottom corner left. It's actually executing the steps. I want to go to vCenter and see what's happening there as well. So the VMs are being powered on. So the difference between us and a backup vendor is that if you have backup products, like data domain, for example, you have to do rehydration first. You have to copy all the data into primary storage. We're not doing any of that stuff. All we're doing is just restarting the VMs and registering into vCenter. The most of the time is taken just in the time to take to register a vCenter and power on the VMs. It's very minimal. There's no data transfer, there's no rehydration. That's what makes the platform so super fast that we are right now in step 3. And you can bring up 1,000 VMs. Most of the time will be in just how long does vCenter take to bring up, to register the VMs and power on the VMs, that's all. It's all there, it's high performance. So you're not really restoring, you're doing a restarting of your VMs. So now you can go and check in the vCenter, hey, this application came up. You can log into the VM and check out if you want to do something. You can do some testing and seeing everything is good. Okay, everything looks good. I'm gonna go back to my dashboard here and say, you know what, I'm done testing. I think it all looks pretty good. I'm gonna clean up the test. So what it does is it does the reverse now. Is that it will actually unregister all the VMs. Power off the VMs and unregister all the VMs and go back to where it was before, as if nothing has changed, nothing has happened. So you get this very, very quick way of testing if your DR is going to work for you without having to do a lot of data transfer and rehydration, waiting for days. It's instantaneous. Everything is going to be done very, very fast and kind of bring everything back online, right? So it may take a couple of minutes to power off and unregister all the VMs. Yep, I believe it's all done, almost done. And the only way you can tell between the cloud version and the on-prem version is there is a small logo change that it's very hard to detect. So we want to provide that seamless experience that you don't want to learn a new product in a disaster recovery scenario. So that's the other thing. Just as a learning experience, like for all of you who are considering the cloud and cloud DR products, do you really want to learn a new product when suddenly there's a disaster and everybody's watching you? So you should consider that aspect of disaster recovery as well, because suddenly new tools, your scripts will all break because it doesn't work in Amazon. I mean, you have to consider these different aspects of it. So what we are providing is that seamless experience that you can't tell the difference. So now it's all done, cleaned up. You can take a note saying, hey, plan is tested. And you can say, okay, I'm done with it. So, and now it's back to normal. Everything is good. You can actually look at reports. So everything you have done is automatically recorded in our system. It's fully audit ready. So you can click the latest one or whatever you want to pick one, and we can make a report for you. And also it's mailed to you as well, but you can also look at them dynamically as you operate the system. So it's a full report. It shows you all the things you have done, all the plans you made, and all the mappings you have done from site to site, and all the steps you're going to take, all the steps taken in this plan testing. And if there's anything, it's all green right now, but if something we're not working, it'll show you in orange. So you can go and fix them, and you can fix them all as long as it takes, so until you get confidence that it's going to work for you. And once you set it up, it all should be working normally without you having to consider it's going to work for you or not. It actually is that simple. And we hope you don't have a disaster, but if there is one, you should be able to fail over with confidence and fail back with confidence and with low cost and with easy to operate system. So those are the high level things I think to consider is how easy it is to operate, how much pressure are you under when you actually have a failover, how much is also going to cost you. So we kind of try to simplify all of those aspects of it. So that's the high level overview of Datrium and the demo. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in. One of our attendees was wondering if you could show the audit reports as well.
Yeah, I did. Let me show you audit reports. So here is the one. I can pick this one. So here's the audit report. So for the one I just did, here's the audit report, right? So it's showing you this plan particularly is showing you the audit report for this plan, all the different things we have done, all the plan summary, the failover, when did you do it, configuration, all the mappings, the workflow steps, you set up, and the actual execution and how did it happen, how long did it take. It took us 53 seconds in this case to bring up all the workloads and kind of walk you through the minute detail of everything we have done, change IP addresses and bring up DSCP. All those things we have done is logged in our audit report. So you can have it for full, you can have it compliance, you can show it to your boss and your colleagues and just keep it for yourself. Yep.
Great.
So Dave, that was the high-level summary of the Datrium, end-to-end simplicity we provide for customers in terms of DR and backup services.
Great. So you want to jump into some questions now? We have quite a few.
Okay, alrighty.
Okay, we'll start with the first one. And the question is, does the DVX address other than virtual machine servers? Can it manage, for instance, Oracle DBs on physical servers?
No, currently we are supporting virtualized workloads with VMware. That's where we're focusing on today. We don't support physical servers today.
Okay, very good. So another question came in. Actually, it's a two-part question. Looking for some elaboration on recovery point objectives and the one-click failback.
Yes. So the RPOs are about minimum RPO we can do is 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes, and you can keep them for as long as you want from a retention perspective. So the minimum we can do is 5 minutes today. And what's the other question? Failback, yeah. So the failback is you go to the plan. So here's a plan, for example. You can duplicate this plan. Oops. You can duplicate this plan, and you can say reverse my protected site and failover. So when you failed over, let's say your disaster failed over, you can do a duplicate plan and basically just say, hey, this is a reverse of that. You'll just reverse the whole thing and bring everything back online. So that gives you that failback ability to do that as well.
Great. Okay, another question is from someone trying to recover from a ransomware attack. How do they find backups in Automatrix?
Yes, so we have a global catalog where you can search for your backups, and you can search not only locally but also globally. So in this case, if you have a ransomware attack and let's say all your backups for your entire VMs are corrupted, so you can just pick this one, or you can pick a VM also, or you can just pick this group of VMs and this policy, and you can say, show me all the remote snapshots as well. So this gives you a global view of everything, where everything is, and you can pick any one of those and say, I want to go back to this point in time.
Okay, very good. Another question is, how much space do all these backups take on the system?
Yes, good question. So it's a fully deduped and incremental failover. It's like synthetic pools always, and we come from data domain to some. So we have the expertise in doing probably the world's best dedupe. So it's the minimum possible space used, and also you can choose to save short-term retention locally, and you can choose to save long-term retention somewhere else. And our average dedupe across all our data customers is about 4.4 to 5x is what we get, which is pretty significant.
Yes. Okay, so we'll take one more and then we'll wrap up. And the question is, how are billing and support handled for the disaster recovery as a service offering?
Yeah, that's actually the nice part about our system is that we want to provide you that. Not only is it easy to use, easy to operate and use, we wanted to provide that single bill. You don't have to worry about all the different bills you get from Amazon and VMware Cloud, all that stuff. So we wanted to give you the single bill. We are the service provider in that sense. We will give you that single bill, and also we will have one support call. Like you can call one support from us, tier 1, tier 2, and we will answer all the questions. So it makes life easy with an end-to-end platform, one UI, one bill, one support.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Sazala, thank you very much for a very informative presentation today. And I certainly would like to thank Datrium as well for sponsoring the event. And mostly, I'd like to thank all of our attendees for joining us today to hear all about this. So until next time, I'm Dave Rubenstein of IT Ops Times. So long for now.
Thanks, everybody.